For more on this story, we welcome to the program Hilary Ingham, a senior lecturer at Lancaster University. Thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us tonight. Now, we just heard Christine Lagarde there mentioning high energy prices, supply disruptions in regards to inflation. Tell us more about what's driving inflation in Europe right now.
Well, I think we've got two underlying factors here, which Christine Lagarde outlined in the clip you've just played. So on the one hand, we do have these supply bottlenecks. So there's supply shortages in materials, equipment and labour. And of course, that's not just in the eurozone. You know, we have it in the UK and it's the same in many other countries in the world. So you've got that on the one hand, but then on the demand side, you've actually got buoyant demand because we're coming out of all the restrictions from the pandemic. Consumer confidence, as she said, is quite high. People are spending, and they're spending on things they weren't able to do maybe 6-9 months ago. So travel, entertainment, dining out, transport. So in that sort of scenario there, what you've got is supply can't keep up with demand. So that, in a sense, is putting pressure on prices. But then at the same time, you've got rapidly rising energy prices. And in the actual report that the central bank have done, they're actually attributing these two things about equal 50-50. So half of the pressure on inflation is coming from the energy price increases and the other half between this sort of mismatch between the supply side of the economy and the demand side.
And we've also learned that the European Central Bank won't raise its key interest rates, even though central banks usually raise those rates to combat inflation and rising prices. Why did the ECB make this decision?
Well, I think there's two things here. I mean, on the one hand, Christine Lagarde is rather dovish, so you might have predicted, given the way she does tend to act, that she would be very reticent to put up interest rates. But the other thing is that in the view of the European Central Bank, this inflation, to a sense, is transitory. So it is something we would expect while, the economy is getting back more to its pre-pandemic state, but they don't expect it to persist. So they think there will be inflationary pressure for the remaining of this year. So they're on 3.4% as of September. They don't see that coming down in 2021. It might even, increase slightly and go into 2022. But they think in the longer term, it will actually reduce either pressures on supply, demand, and maybe energy prices. They will reduce. So inflation will come down without them having to take any remedial action by raising interest rates. But they are in some way on a bit out on a limb here. If you take Norway and South Korea, they've actually increased interest rates already. In the UK, the Bank of England and also the US Federal Reserve, they've sort of signalled that if they believe it is necessary, they would be prepared to act and increase interest rates to choke off inflation.
Hilary Ingham, thank you so much for joining us here on the program at France 24.